The U.S. District Court has dismissed a Department of Justice lawsuit seeking Nevada's voter registration list. The federal government sued the state late last year after demanding Secretary of State Francisco Aguilar turn over the statewide voter registration list. The Secretary of State's office provided information in accordance with Nevada law, but the lawsuit says those records did not fulfill all the government's demands. Aguilar said those lists include sensitive information like driver's license and social security numbers. Today, a judge granted an order to dismiss the case and deny the Department of Justice's motion to compel the state to produce those records. So Secretary Aguilar released a statement praising the court's decision, saying in part, quote, "Courts across the country have repeatedly rejected these unsupported demands. Nevada will continue maintaining accurate voter rolls, administering secure elections, and protecting the personal information voters entrust to